The fans were up for the season opener, and the team was too, coming up with a victory on opening day. Good evening. In fact, it's a great evening for Bills fans tonight. The Bills won their home opener. Here with the word on that victory is Chuck Howard.
I tell you, Rich, I think a lot of us are relieved and impressed with the way the team played today. A few areas need some elbow grease.
We'll take the win.
You got it. A lot of the Bills fans with a lot of questions after that horrible preseason. All those questions were answered after the Bills rolled the Colts out at Rich Stadium this afternoon. The Bills offense came out smoking early on. Jim Kelly hit Keith McKellar, who had a big game. Kelly was 14 of 14, a big game for him in the second quarter. Kelly, his only touchdown pass on the day, but it was a biggie 2-yard toss to Butch Roll. Bills led for good at that point, 10-3. Now, the Bills' defense was all over Colts rookie quarterback Jeff George. Smith with the sack here, and George would go down late in the game with a concussion. The Bills hung on to win it 26-10. They're off and running, and, of course, coming up later in about 10 minutes in the big board, we'll have much more. Brian and Van were both out there, so tune back on in for the
For those of us who could not see the game,
you're
so I'm
exactly
going to be
right.
watching very carefully.
You're exactly right, and I think you're one of the guys who was a little skeptical after the preseason, myself included. I think Marv did kind of a positive thing. He didn't reveal his hand to the Colts and the rest of the league. It seemed to work out all right today. Hey, forget about that 0-4 preseason. The Bills put forth a very solid effort in all three phases of the game today. Offense, defense, and special teams contributed to a 26-10 opening day win over the Colts, and the fans were pumped up. A sellout crowd of near 80,000 on hand, and the Bills offense came right out, gave everybody a thrill first series. No huddle offense, marched right down the field. Big day for Keith McKellar, 7 catches right there. One of them. Now Kelly was on fire as well early on, calling his own plays on that first drive. Here to read a little gainer, Kelly completed his first 14 passes. The Bills' first drive of the season, 15 plays, 78 yards, capped off by the first of 4 Scott Norwood field goals. 29-yarder there, put the Bills up 3-0. Now the Colts rookie quarterback Jeff George looked rather impressive in his first regular NFL game here. 18 yards to Brooks on the left sideline, led to a Biasucci field goal, 3-3 after 1 quarter. Second quarter we go, still 3-3, and the Bills defense got rolling. Bruce Smith in on George. The sack forces the fumble that Leon Seals recovered at the 22. The Bills were in business. 5 plays later, the Bills would cash that baby in. Kelly, a 2-yard toss to Butch Roll all alone. 10-3 Bills on top. The Bills' #1 draft pick, J.D. Williams, paid dividends today. Late first half, Williams blocked this Ron Stark punt. The Bills cashed that turnover into another Norwood three-pointer. 13-3 Bills at the half. Now the play that changed the complexion of the game totally. Bennett sacked George to the turf. George would leave the game with a concussion. The Bills led it 19-10 after Norwood's 4th field goal when Jack Trudeau came into replace of George, and that was picked off by Kelso right there at the Bills' 33. The Bills would capitalize on that gem as well. Thurman Thomas did a pretty nice job for missing all of the preseason. Here, a nice 20-yard scamper down the left sideline. And then 2 plays later, Thomas would close out the scoring, a 6-yard touchdown. The Bills win the season opener, 26-10, and the defense set the tone in this one.
The first drive of each half was probably when they didn't crank it up quite to the degree that they played the rest of the time, but overall they played great. If we can hold somebody to 10 points, you're going to win most of the time. And so I thought they did a good job.
To put them in a passing situation, I think that was good for us as far as getting our pass rushing off. And we got 2 guys out with some, Leon and Jeff, and got pretty good speed, so that helped us out quite a bit also.
It certainly did. Now the Bills' offense clicked fairly well for it being just the season opener. Brian has much more from Rich Stadium on the close to 400-yard offensive output.
Marv Levy won't even consider the run-and-shoot offense, but he did surprise the Colts on the first drive of the game with a no-huddle offense. Jim Kelly went 9 for 9, moving the Bills downfield before Indy regrouped, called a timeout, and forced Buffalo to settle for 3.
What we thought we would do, Brian, we thought we would just continue what we started in Cleveland last year. That they did an excellent job there, so we thought, well, we might as well keep it going, and thank goodness it worked for us.
Some of the linemen didn't expect that till a couple of days ago, so, I mean, it was a surprise to us, too.
Offensively, the big story in Week 1 was the tight end position. Butch Roll was called on to run his favorite short route for a touchdown.
What more can I really say about that? It's a play that's been there for the last 3 years, when it's called upon, it's open, so just take advantage of it, that's all.
Are you a little surprised that people don't catch on to that play? I mean, that's your forte.
Well, I look at it like this. If we run the ball effectively, that pass play will be open all the time.
But Keith McKellar stole the show with 7 receptions, good for 78 yards.
First play of the game was a pass to me, and that I knew for a couple of days, which ain't always good. We got in a rhythm, and I was getting open, and Jim was giving me the ball.
What were they giving you that you noticed to go back to it so much?
Well, I can't really say they played a lot of zone, and the balls I caught, I don't think one of them was really the same route. You know, they was all different routes. I even caught one from the wide receiver position, which I'm proud of.
Keith McKellar, he got the game ball today. Keith finally got his chance to prove that he's a super tight end. He's got great hands. I mean, the guy is a receiver in a tight end's body. I have all the confidence in the world in him, and so do the coaches.
One banner at Rich Stadium today said, "Now the Bills get serious," and that's exactly the way they played in the opener. Van Miller joins us now for your thoughts on the game. I thought the offensive line was a big key.
They did. They played very well. Jim Kelly, I thought, was sensational. I don't care how much he played in the preseason. Thurman Thomas comes in, misses training camp. Hey, he's in on 29 plays. He runs it 20 times, catches 9 balls, 145 total yards. Very important. Big play on the block punt, big play on the interception by Kelso.
Defensive side of the coin, the Bills had to be impressed with Jeff George, but they finally got to him.
Well, they did really, and they held the running game down to 56 yards, Brian, so it was a convincing win.
Okay, and a big one coming up next week when the Bills travel to Miami to take on the Dolphins. 26-10 the final. That'll wrap it up from the stadium. Back to you, Chuck.
All right, thanks, Bry. Thanks, Van. Here's the stat report on the Bills game. Kelly, a pretty decent outing, 283 yards, 1 touchdown. He did the job, looked mighty impressive in that first half. Rushing, Thomas, as Van said.